Hi, my name's John. I'm a Learning Technology Advisor in the Celt Department here at the University of East London, here with another of our shortcut videos offering tips and advice on technology for teaching and learning. Now, over the last few months, we've been spending a lot of time trying to raise people's awareness of the changes that have occurred to Moodle since the April upgrade and the introduction of a kind of a new Moodle course design. Now, this course design is based on a grid format. Although actually I was in a workshop the other day and somebody referred to them as tiles, which I suddenly realised was a much better word for it. So thanks to Sonia from the psychology department, I'm going to refer to them as tiles from now on then. Now, the great benefit of these tiles is that instead of seeing your course content in a single list scrolling all the way down the middle of the page, maybe broken up by various topic headers, the topics themselves are bundled into these tiles, and when a student clicks on them, the content of that tile expands to fill the whole screen. Now, this way, there's simply less scrolling to do, and it's a much more intuitive way of accessing resources, especially for anyone who's using a mobile device or a tablet, which is great. But then we had a really interesting question about this from Elizabeth Stokes in the Business and Law Department. Because while it is great to have all this content filling up the page, now you can't add the topics inside of it. So how can you organise your resources and information within each tile? Well, Elizabeth is exactly right to raise this point, and it is kind of a shame that you can't have a secondary level within each topic, a kind of a subtopic. Although I suppose the downside of that would be that the more levels you have, the more difficult it would be to actually find anything hidden away in all those different levels. Whoops. There are, though, some other things that you can do within your topic area to make your courses and the information within them clearer and tidier. So we're going to spend some time looking at some of these different techniques, and we're going to be starting with the humble but massively powerful label. So, are you sitting comfortably? Then away we go. When the contents of a tile opens up to fill the page, it's easy to think of it as just a list of stuff, a whole bunch of PDFs to read, some Word documents, lecture notes, the obligatory PowerPoint or two. And there's nothing at all wrong with that, of course, but if you want to go a step further, then you can start to think of each tile less as a list and more as a document or a web page. When you're creating a document, you invariably tend to break up the page using headers, paragraphs, charts, or images. These things make the page itself look more interesting and help prevent the reader from simply staring blankly at waves of text dancing before their eyes and lulling them to sleep. The same principle is true of your course page. A long, unwavering list of things tends not to encourage that much participation, and is why catalogues tend to come with pictures. Within a course topic, the way that you can break up your list is by using the label option. To add a label, switch into edit mode on your course and navigate to the topic area where you want to modify. Click on the Add Activity or Resource button, and in the dialog box that pops up, scroll down to the bottom on the left-hand side panel, and there, under Resources, you'll see the option to add a label. Select it and click Add. You'll now see the page where you can make your label. Now, the big box is essentially just a line on your document where you can add a header or an image or a video or pretty much anything. For example, I might just want to break up a list of resources with a header, so I'll type in a header and then click on Save and Return. There it is. If I switch editing off and click onto the relevant slide, I can see the header there looking, well, distinctly underwhelming. I mean, after all, if this was a document, I might at least put my headers in, I don't know, bold type or underline. Okay, so let's go back and see if we can make the header stand out a little more. Back into edit mode. I'm going to search for my header and then go to Edit and select Edit Settings. Here we are again, and there's my underwhelming text. If I select the text, let's see what I can do with it. Of course, Here are options to change the size or the font of the text. I can underline it or put it in bold or italic, and I can change the colour, add a highlight, or change the alignment. Save and display, and there is your once overwhelming text all jazzed up and looking for all the world like a typographic Cardassian. All these options for changing the text are doubtless familiar to you all because they're pretty much the same kinds of things you would do in Microsoft Word or LibreOffice when you're editing a document. And just like those word processors, there are shortcuts called styles. If you want to make it easier to apply a consistent format to your headers, simply select the text and click on the drop-down arrow that appears next to the word paragraph. Lovely. But there are other things you can do with a label as well. You can add an image by clicking on this button here. Hover over the icon and you'll see the text Insert or Edit Image. Click on this and you'll have a dialog box for changing the settings of your image. But to upload an image itself, you need to click on the big text saying Find or Upload an Image. This will bring up the file picker, which many of you will already be familiar with from uploading files or changing the icons on your files. Now by default, you should see your most recent files showing first, but you can click on Upload a File to find an image on your computer. Click on the button to upload your file and select the file you want to appear. Back in the settings box, it's always a good idea to give your image a name. Click on Insert and your image is there. You might find at this point that it's rather difficult to get the whole picture, so you can click on this little expand icon in order to see the whole label. And from here you can select your image in order to change the size, the alignment, or turn it into a link. To turn it into a link, simply click on the icon to insert or edit a link, making sure of course that the object is selected. Now you have a dialog box where, well, by default your cursor is blinking away merrily in the box where you paste your link. In this instance, I'm going to copy the link from a Linda video on Moodle assessments. I could paste a link to another page, of course, in my course, or I could click on this little icon to the side of the link box and choose to link to a particular document. Click on Insert, then toggle back to the main screen, where you can save and return to course. I'll just come out of editing mode again so that we can see what it looks like. There's your picture. If I click on the picture, it will instantly take me to the Linda course. Brilliant. Of course, you can turn text into links as well. Pretty much anything that you can select in the editing window can be turned into a link. And if you want to change the link or remove it, you can do so by selecting the text or image and choosing Insert Edit Link to change it, or click on Unlink if you want to delete the link. Okay, two more things to show you. If you notice this little icon here, it enables you to add a table into your label. Now this is particularly useful because in effect it means you can include columns of information in your topic area. If I click on the icon, I'll have a little dialog box where I can choose how many rows or columns I need. I can choose if I want it aligned to the right or the center. Well, I'm going to choose the center. And I can choose how wide I want it to be. Now I want it to always run the whole width of the page, so I'm going to put 100%. Click on Insert, and there's my table. Of course, what you put on the table is going to be entirely up to you. Just to demonstrate it at work though, I'm going to again put in some links to Linda courses. So in one column, I'll write the name of the Linda course. I want the text to be a little more noticeable again, although no, maybe not quite the full Cardassian, so I'll just change it to header 2. In the next column, I want to put the pictures related to the courses, so I'll click inside the cell, go to Insert, Edit Image, choose my image, and insert it into the table, resizing it to roughly what I want. Of course, now I seem to have messed up the size of the columns, but that's fine. I can modify the column width by right-clicking on the table, selecting Cell, and opening up the cell properties. Now here is my box for indicating the cell width. Now, since I have two columns, I want this one to be half the screen size, so I'm going to type in 50%. There. Now I just need to select the image again, and I'll add that course link. I can, of course, repeat this process as many times as I like. And when I'm finished, go back to the main page, save, and return to course. And there it is. And if we change our view, we can see what it looks like to students. Okay, now I've left the best till last. You're going to love this. In a previous video, I've talked about how to embed a Twitter feed into your Moodle course. Now that process involved using an HTML block and adding some pre-prepared code. Well, the same process works just as well with a label. Here we are again in our label settings page, and if I hover over this little angle bracket icon, I can see that it gives me the option to edit the HTML. Clicking on this will open up a nice shiny new window that is ready to accept an HTML code. But what code, I hear you cry? Well, never fear. You don't have to write it yourself. There are loads of places that you can go to for pre-prepared embed codes. And that means that you can insert all sorts of interactive content into your Moodle course. Obviously, as I've already mentioned, Twitter feeds or Facebook feeds work brilliantly, but we've dealt with that with another video, so I'm not going to go over it again here. What we will do is give you a quick tour of some other options. YouTube has so many great videos, and one of the great things about them is that you can embed them in Moodle so easily. Firstly, find the video that you want to include. Then scroll down until you see the Share button. Clicking on this will give you a whole bunch of other options, but the one we're interested in is Embed. Clicking on this will produce a bunch of code. Simply copy it, paste it into your HTML editor in your label, click Save and Return, and there's your video, embedded and ready to play. This is what it will look like to students. Lynda provides embed codes too. Of course, unlike YouTube, you need to be logged into Lynda for these to work, but that's not really a problem. Once again, if you're on the page of a Lynda video that you want to embed, look for the Share button in the top right. Click on it and choose the embed code. Copy the code and once again paste it into the HTML editor of your label. Save and return, and once again there's your video all ready to play. TED Talks are a fantastic resource, particularly for higher levels of study where, let's be honest, resources become thin on the ground. Once again, you can embed a TED video by looking for the Share button. This time you'll find it in the top right-hand corner of the video itself. Click on this and look to the bottom of the dialog box to see the code. One of the nice things about the TED embed code is that you have the option to include subtitles, which is great for accessibility. Copy the code, paste it into the HTML editor of your label, save and return, and bingo, there it is. Forms can be a great way of collecting information from students, and many of them can be easily embedded. For example, a Google form. If you open your Google form, there once again is the Share button, and this time there is no handy word embed though. You may notice the same angle bracket icon though that you've used in your label to access the HTML editor. Click on the angle bracket icon and there's your embed code. Copy it, paste it, and there's your form, all nicely embedded. Polls can be so much fun. Often they're used during a class when you can use them to get live interactions with large groups of students. They can be just as useful though for collecting pre-sessional, post-sessional data, opinions, views, demographic information that can be explored during classes itself. There are countless options available for online polling, and each of them have different strengths or weaknesses. Now, one of my favourite for these purposes, though, is Engage Form, where you have an infinite number of polls using a free account. Here I'm just using an example poll. This time, though, the option I'm looking for is Distribute. In here, I can see again the embed code. I'm sure by now you know the score. Copy, paste, save, and there's your poll. So, there you have it. Labels are a fantastic way to add variety to your topic areas and to break up a course page that might otherwise look a little too much like a file explorer. Hope this has been useful. Please check out our YouTube channel, Celt TV, for more tips and tricks for learning technologies. My name's John, and this has been a shortcut video for the Centre of Excellence in Learning and Teaching at the University of East London. Toodle pip.